As business owners, entrepreneurs, family men, it's difficult for us to find the time to put together projects like these. Even though it's something we really want to do, unfortunately, taking care of the things we have to take care of comes first. However, because of viewer support for people like you, we're able to continue doing this. Please consider joining our Patreon and supporting the Burn and Return podcast. You're listening to Burn and Return, a weekly 1-hour podcast covering news from the agricultural and turfgrass industries.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Burn and Return. Boys, we had one hell of a pre-show there. We saw one of the most unbelievable clips I had ever seen. I mean, just an absolute stellar performance of using any and every drag of the internet to pitch your link in the description below. And it was absolutely fascinating. I'll save everyone the heartache of how this ends, but the pitch ultimately was Sunday, and their all natural approach to lawn care, right? And that is just the most fascinating thing to me. You know, when you look at these labels and they talk about how safe they are, they do things different, and you look at the label and it's the same active ingredients that you see on a bag of fertilizer from Scotts or Lowe's or Home Depot or Valagro or insert random manufacturer in there, but all of a sudden this one is all natural, and the only difference is what it says on the bag or the container or the package, not what is actually one of the ingredients. So if you are interested in that kind of thing where we talk about those and dissect those, check us out on the Patreon, patreon.com/burn and return. We are highly appreciative of that. When we do get to 69 patrons, nice. We'll be doing some other fun stuff where we're going to reintegrate me back into society, which I do not look forward to at all. I enjoy the space I live, and I want nothing to do with the general public. And unfortunately, it's being bestowed upon me that I must interact with the general public, and that's okay. We're 9 away, so we're getting close. Also, some other benefits too. You know, we like to interact more so with the people that allow us to be able to do this. And so we do special things like live Zoom calls where we, have what would be referred to as a binge drinking session. But there's people who join that don't drink, and sometimes I don't even drink on them either. And those are our power hour events that we do, and they're always a lot of fun too. We have a great time, and it's an opportunity to interact with us, very one-on-one, very intimate settings, crack jokes, ask questions. We talk lawns, cars, girls, dogs, cats, and in Russia. So, no holds barred, wide open, full throttle. Boys, DeMay, you missed it. J Pink, throw it up one more time. There it is. There it is. I don't know who edited that. J Pink, did you edit that? Were you the one who photoshopped that?
Maybe. It was not anonymous.
You're talking about how much you can bench. I don't want to say yes.
That's a nice callback too. So anyway, we have a good time, and another thing I want to make clear too is whether you've been at this for 1 week or you've been at this for 10 years matters not to us. The only thing that we ask is that if indeed you want to talk about grass, just understand that the industry is evolving and that we are here to help you along with that evolution of the industry, because as we learn it, we're all in different areas of our career where we're in a constant state of learning, and we just ask you to always keep an open mind and be willing to learn new things as well. It's through the power of shared knowledge, shared experience that this continues to move forward, and that for us specifically is what is most important, is that the industry is only as strong as the weakest link. The chain is only as strong as the weakest link, and that's how we feel. We want to lift everybody up and help them along the best that we possibly can. Gentlemen, real quick before we jump into the show, talk to me. What you got going on? Give me a little inside scoop here.
Oh, I mean, just doom scrolling on Twitter. I mean, just checking out, seeing how things are going over there. In the Ukraine, and whoever you're pulling for. Hopefully it's Ukraine. I'll just say that. I'll make a political statement there.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, I'm with Ukraine as a sovereign nation and not as an annex of the Russian Federation.
When do we get, or when can we get? And I don't want to co-opt this or do anything wrong with it, but when do we get the Russian ship go fuck yourself shirts? When can we get those?
I don't know. And I heard the what may or may not have been the propaganda thing about the Snake Island or whatever, and the guys who told the Russian ship offshore to go fuck themselves. Regardless, I would say there are a fair number of hard ass Ukrainians that know what it was like to live through the USSR that would gladly, with a smile on their face, say that to the people that are, attempting to overtake their sovereignty. And here's the other thing too, is that I don't think anybody on the panel right now is a pro-war guy that thinks we need to go, move in there and pave Russia into a parking lot or anything like that. But it's okay to not be in favor of war and also, think that Ukraine deserves to have their own country, not be invaded by fucking Russia. And both of those can be true at the same time. So I want to get that out there too before somebody starts jumping into the comments and be like, you're a bunch of pro-war assholes, you're fascists, or whatever flavor of word they want to put forth there anyway. All right, gentlemen, let's go ahead and jump into this son of a bitch. Let's talk about this week's headlines.
Nothing to fear here.
This is just the news. And you know what? I cut off Ray before Ray gave an opportunity to answer that. Ray, tell me, what'd you do this week?
Oh, let's see. I did a little FAFO at the golf course.
Oh, you trying out some new wedges there, Ray? What are you doing?
No, my project there is I'm having to deal with removing carpet grass and this other weedy grass called sour grass from the seashore paspalum.
Explain to us how you do that, because I'm kind of interested.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Two things that I know both of those grassy species don't like. Number one, metsulfuron methyl. Number two, this recently introduced sulfonylurea called katana.
I love katana.
And guess what happens if you combine katana, 1/2 ounce per acre metsulfuron methyl, and about 1 pound per acre of 2,4-D ester, and 4 ounces per acre sulfentrazone.
I would say that's a pretty damn good cleanup there, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, the carpet grass just shrank.
Why flazosulfuron in lieu of Celsius?
That's because if you put Celsius on top of seashore paspalum, the seashore paspalum is gone. Gone in a month.
Yeah,
I mean, may I
Celsius
refer you,
and paspalums don't get along.
Yeah, because may I refer you to that one lawn where somebody applied a lot of Celsius and I had to bring in gallons of activated charcoal suspension to bring the lawn back.
Ooh,
I know.
that's a bad day.
Yeah. I was literally hosing down the lawn with black water and then crossing my fingers, hoping the grass would grow back. It kind of did. And so at that point, I could reestablish C. sharpaspalum because whoever sprayed the Celsius in that C. sharpaspalum killed off about 2,500 square feet.
So, for those of you that never heard of Katana, the active ingredient is flazosulfuron, and it's been more popular in golf and sports turf just due to price. I do not know if it's labeled for residential lawns. It
is, Matt.
It
is
now.
Is. However, I'm going to tell everybody that, to me, if you're targeting nutsedge or Kailinga, there is nothing special about flazosulfuron. And actually, flazosulfuron has been available in Japan for decades now. That's their preferred nutsedge control in zoysia. They just hit it with a hot dose of flazosulfuron and the nutsedge just crumbles.
Yeah, I've used it for ryegrass transitions in Bermuda grass as well, and I believe there's some fairly good efficacy on Poa annua and warm season grass as well too, if I recall correctly.
Actually, Poa removal in the spring, flazosulfuron is fantastic for it. However, there's a flip side to flazosulfuron. Flazosulfuron is also used in the rest of the world for bare ground weed control.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I suppose if you crank up the application rate to higher than what's typically used on zoysia and Bermuda turf, nothing grows there.
A la metsulfuron methyl at higher rates as well.
And you know our friend from the Missouri, Oklahoma area, Tifway Lawns?
Yes.
He related a very bad flazosulfuron experience to me.
Oh.
He applied a little too much inside of a zoysia lawn, and that zoysia lawn turned into dirt.
Yes, the old I think we've all had those experiences, and they're never fun on zoysia because when they turn to dirt, they don't regrow.
They don't
all right,
grow back.
let's check out this first headline here. And kind of an interesting take here. We'll do highlights of this and dive into more industry specific stuff related to the conflict, because unfortunately that is what is probably most importantly needs to be talked about. Beyond oil and gas, who will lose from the Russia-Ukraine trade fallout? Russia's invasion of Ukraine has sparked Europe's largest land war since 1945. The U.S., European Union, and UK have so far focused their sanctions on Russia's financial sector, billionaires and political elites giving a pass to the country's energy industry, which continues to pump natural gas to heavily reliant European customers, which is, an unfortunate thing. Yet Western leaders have said that all options remain on the table, and there are signs that even China, a close ally of Russia, may be applying a squeeze, with several state-run banks curbing financing for purchases of Russian commodities. As well as being an energy giant, Russia is also a major producer of base and precious metals. Ukraine is one of the world's largest agricultural exporters. So you can see now how all of a sudden that starts to have an effect on the global economy. Finland gets more than 90% of its nickel imports from Russia, which also supplies nearly half of Turkey's aluminum imports. The UK is by far the largest buyer of Russian gold, to the tune of $17 billion in 2020. The U.S. may have some exposure. Definitely has exposure. In 2020, the U.S. bought 3.5 million metric tons of pig iron, a key ingredient in the production of steel. The amount that amounted to 3/4 of its overall imports of the metal that year, and was equivalent to 19% of domestic output. Egypt and Turkey both get more than 50% of their wheat imports from Russia and Ukraine. India and China import hundreds of millions of dollars of sunflower and cottonseed oils from the Ukraine. In 2019, both Brazil and China sourced at least 30% of their fertilizer imports from Russia and Belarus, collectively worth $4.3 billion. And of course, the U.S. and India are also major buyers. For a few other countries and products, Russia is a major customer, and there's a risk that demand could be hurt by future sanctions and other economic fallout. One example, the more than $5 billion in fur coats, clothing, and accessories that Russians bought from Chinese manufacturers in 19 and 20, nearly 2/3 of their overseas sales. Ecuador sells almost 20% of its bananas, worth more than $600 million annually, to Russia. The country is also a key market for finished nuclear reactor parts. So you can see this extends over. And what's interesting, especially that banana part, Jay Pink and I, this Polish lady works with my wife and actually grew up in Poland under USSR rule. And she was talking about how, during the communist era of Poland there, she didn't know bananas existed and didn't have one until I believe it was 10 years old. She had her first banana. Now, all of a sudden, with this quasi capitalism thing we see coming out of Russia right now, obviously bananas are something majorly they import. Not exactly a region of the world where you're going to see a whole lot of bananas being grown, for sure. And now we run the potential of running back towards that direction where for a generation or longer, or who knows how long, bananas may become a thing of the past. And that's something that, for me, put into perspective here of how just fucking weird the whole thing is, right? Like, could you imagine at 10 years old just learning that there were bananas in the world and eating your first one? That is a crazy, for me, hit me very emotionally, like a 10-year-old kid not knowing what a banana is. I think about my kids, and they're like fucking monkeys in there the way they eat bananas. I come home with a 2 6-packs of bananas, and they're like an alcoholic with Budweiser, just snarfing the things down. And by the end of the day, within an hour of having them home, all 12 bananas are gone. I'm like, thanks for saving some for the rest of us there, Curious George and friend. It's unbelievable. So there is a lot more at stake here than just the fact of a war breaking out in Europe, more than something potentially leading to World War III. And I think calls for that right now at this point are early. And it's more than just oil and gas, as we can see here. Precious metals, even from the import side of Russia being a customer on the global market, being effective, and how that can affect other worldwide economies as well. It's a tough thing. And gentlemen, talk to me a little bit. Give me some kind of high level stuff here. Let's not go too deep because we got a shitload more to cover in this topic. But some high level stuff when you're seeing this. What's going through your mind, and what are you bracing for? And we'll keep this outside of the green industry right now. What are you personally thinking about bracing for as a result of this?
Yeah, I think it's too early to say about what to brace for. Other than, the easy ones to go to are going to be, first and foremost, fuel, right? What is our cost here, and what's the ripple effect of the global markets? And certainly, as we've seen with other commodities, right? The folks that are, quote unquote, setting the price sort of know that they can maybe squeeze a little bit outside of this, right? Call that the nutrient effect, right, Matt? And so
you did that on purpose.
I did. I'm keeping the pressure up. I don't know. I think the whole thing is like, if you're going to keep it high level, this is why you don't just go in there and, have an all out shooting war. I mean, among other reasons, militaristic and otherwise, you just can't do that. There's just way too much out there in terms of trade and interdependence, between Russia, Europe, Asia, and the United States and North America as a whole, right? Like, there's just way too much that's going on there that you can't just turn off the faucet, so to speak, and expect everything to be fine without a whole lot of hurt and a whole lot of pain economically. And, really, it's going to hurt people, like, honestly. So I think it remains to be seen. And the other thing, too, is just because all these things are in place, right? And the, the sanctions that have been put in place, I'm not an economist. I'm certainly not anybody that fully understands everything about how these sanctions are going to work, but I got to think that it's going to hit the productivity, right, of the Russian economy, just in terms of people leaving the country or
Well, it turns out Russia has conducted cyber warfare against us already, and took out DeMay. I'm sure he'll be back here shortly.
Yeah.
Ray,
Well,
talk to me. What's going through your head? What are you preparing for right now?
Well, I am keeping in mind, again, the economic interdependence. And as much as everybody touts globalism and the global economy, situations like this speak to the importance of a domestically based supply chain. Oh, and by the way, you were talking about how Asami's Polish friend didn't know what a banana was until she was 10 years old.
Sure.
Well, okay. What I heard about the Russian Federation doing, I think in the last 5 years, is the Russian Federation has actively been curtailing imports of foreign foodstuffs. They've been on a policy of domestic only. So, for example, domestic, here's an example of that. For example, no cheeses from France or Switzerland in the Russian Federation, for example. That's a policy that was specifically outlined by the Russian Federation.
No doubt about it. And again, a lot of the things we've talked about that have been going on behind the scenes, like China amassing 51% of the world's grain. And I can't remember what all the statistics were, but it was like 72% of something and 64% of something else. And you averaged all out of what they had amassed in like the last year or two. It was 51% of the world's grain. And, it makes you wonder, what did they know leading up to this, and what were they preparing for? And now that we're knee deep in this, how much was everybody caught with their pants down, or was this all inside intel knowledge? And, a lot of these questions we won't know for years to come, if ever. DeMay, welcome back. I figured Putin would go after you first because you are the voice of reason, and it's, you can allow me and Ray to be the propagandist on here. So, it was a matter of time. They cancel the real people who are canceled are the voices of reason. They let the extremists just fly off the handle.
Well, I think I said this in the pre-show, but with Pornhub shutting down all the traffic to Russia, I think Vlad is sharing my Skinamax login, so I think he actually kind of took all my bandwidth here for a minute, right? You know what I mean?
Does not shock me that is what's going on. We'll take a look at this next one here. What?
No, nothing.
You listen here to me. You made me watch that damn show on the pre-show. You did that on purpose.
I made you.
Urea was doing real well, and then all of a sudden it was not doing well. And so this is from CME, although urea is typically traded on CBOT, but we can see here now our settlement prices are up big time, 73% week over week increase in urea prices. We had dipped down, and if JPink, if you could show that other chart that I threw up in Notion on the bottom there, it'll have a little better graphical display of what exactly is going on. And, you may look at this because urea was falling there for a little bit, and all of a sudden you see this gigantic uptick. And, in the trading world, you may hear phrases like the dead cat bounce or whatever. But why this would not qualify as a dead cat bounce and as a giant foobar movement is when you see that big giant green bar underneath the price, that constitutes volume of buying. That is a massive, amount of urea contracts that were bought in a single day. In fact, that was the largest single day buy in a long time, maybe years, the largest single day buy. So needless to say, when you've got traders that are all buying in to that at one time, that means there are a lot of people that are saying, holy shit. And also, when you have the single largest single day contract acquisition day for multiple years to come, that of course is what's also driving up price, right? So it'll be interesting to see how long they hold on to these futures, because these are all current contracts, right? So they had a week to sell this before they have to start taking delivery on it. And you can see it dipped from roughly 680 to 655, and you don't see a big red bar on the bottom, which would indicate sell volume. Therefore, the number of selling, offloading of these contracts that were purchased was not very big. So pretty much everybody bought this with the anticipation of taking delivery on it within a couple weeks. Again, it's another one of those signals that we can look at and use and say, okay, the market makers that are dealing in 100-ton blocks of urea here are, hedging on, millions of tons of urea and going ahead and taking delivery on it just in case. Again, pointing towards the validity and seriousness of the situation and also the unknown of the situation we're in. And that'll kind of lead us into the next headline here. U.S. agriculture braces for fallout from Ukraine crisis from the crisis in Ukraine. Here we go. From fertilizer to food prices, American agriculture is about to feel the effects of the crisis in Europe. Agricultural Secretary Tom Vilsack warned yesterday against price gouging in fertilizer, and this is the first time we have heard an agricultural secretary or anybody from the Fed, aside from who was it out of? I think they were out of Iowa. I can't remember that guy's name.
Vilsack.
Chuck Grassley. Chuck Grassley.
Grass.
Yeah. Gressly was, for the Farm Action Network, was like, yeah, you're right. We need to launch some sort of investigation to figure out what's going on. We need to take a look at the monopolization of the fertilizer industry. Now, all of a sudden, we have the agricultural secretary saying, listen, do not fucking start price gouging. And we could talk about a little bit more about some inside information that's going on here where, it would be easy to do so and hide behind the cloak of external conflict, which would allow people to be able to do that. The conflict in Ukraine threatens to upend agricultural trade in the region, possibly putting new demands on the U.S. to produce crops like wheat for allies in Europe. While U.S. farmers might see additional markets there, rising costs for commodities could affect everyone from farmers who buy grain for feed to U.S. consumers who end up paying more in the supermarket. Vilsack said at the Agricultural Department conference yesterday that it's too early to speculate on the effect of sanctions, but he hopes no company take the crisis as an excuse to do something not necessarily supported by supply and demand. Russia's a heavyweight in the world's fertilizer supply. Natural gas, a top commodity for the country, is a main ingredient for ammonia, which in turn is a building block for fertilizer. The U.S. and Germany have already put a halt to the Nord Stream 2 natural gas pipeline that was to supply greater Russian exports. If future sanctions hit Russian gas, that would affect prices, and the European Union would need to turn to other sources. And while the U.S. produces most of its own natural gas, price swings have big effects on the energy-intensive fertilizer industry. And let's put that into perspective real quick, because if you recall, we were talking about the hardship that Yara was facing, Yara being a major European manufacturer of nitrogen and all things fertilizer related for Europe. And they had to turn off their plants due to the cost of natural gas. They said, we can't make fertilizer profitably anymore due to the cost of gas. And so what happened? The United States, other countries around the world were like, all right, we've got, either liquid ammonia in inventory or we've got natural gas reserves that we can get to you at a price that would allow you to operate profitably. And the whole reason they had to do this was to avoid a food supply crisis in Europe. So already we had the dominoes that had begun to fall, and surrounding countries were able to put their hand in front of the tumbling roller coaster there and say, all right, let's slow this damn thing down and figure out, how we can kind of work around this, right? And of course, all of that leading up to it was, in the face of inflation and all that fun stuff. Now, the major supplier of natural gas for the EU is now, faced sanctions. And again, rightfully so. I don't want to pretend like, that is not a good thing. But what they did was they are allowing natural gas to still kind of freely move from Russia because they don't want to fuck with their food supply issues. But they'll make it a little bit more difficult by, kiboshing the Nord Stream 2, right? So it's like, maybe the Nord Stream 2 looks good on paper, but we're still going to go ahead and receive natural gas because we want to fuck Russia, but we want to fuck them that hard, kind of sort of deal. Because if we fuck them that hard, that fucks us pretty bad too. And then people might hate us and turn against us. Now, that's just the nitrogen piece. Unfortunately, there's also another input piece here, and that other input is potash. Russia accounts for 21% of global exports of potash. Belarus, a company in Belarus, Belarusiky, I can't remember who it is, major potash producer there, has faced their own sanctions. Lithuania, who was their major supply chain people, said, nope, we ain't fucking shipping it no more. And this actually was leading up to the invasion from Russia into Ukraine. And what did they do? Force majeure. Another force majeure right in the balls deep sector of the fertilizer space that we had not been prepared for. So now we've got Bayer force majeure. We've got potash force majeure. We have New Farm force majeure. Who else? I feel like I'm leaving one out. I feel like there was 4. Maybe there was only 3. I can't recall. But case in point, the point I'm trying to make here is that it's not just nitrogen, it's not just natural gas, it's also potash that is being foobarred through this whole thing. So again, I'm not trying to pretend like we're coming up with solutions here of, we're some kind of expert geopolitical people that, we need to do this and we need to do that. Who fucking knows what needs to be done? But case in point is that there are very real effects to this that are taking place for seemingly no real reason. I don't know what Russia's reason is in this whole thing. They've given a whole booklet of random things that they hang on to depending on what the moment says. But nobody, I don't think anybody can rightfully say they know for sure it's 100% this reason. And because it has taken place now that we are in the throes of it, it's trying to put forth real analysis and data points on what the fuck we could expect because it did happen. And what we do know, at least from a European standpoint, is that nitrogen is going to go through one hell of a rough patch if they do completely kibosh ammonia and natural gas. And potash for certain is absolutely foobarred. Gentlemen, talk to me. What are y'all taking away from this?
I just got a goosebump.
This is uplifting.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's better than sitting in Kiev right now. That's for sure.
Yes.
So, man, the thing that I think don't know, right? That will probably be most impactful is got to be the potash thing, right? And I don't know, that article referred to 21%. I've seen other figures much higher than that, where essentially if you were to take the one that I looked at here earlier this week was between Belarus and Russia, it's about 51% of the potash that goes to market is between those two countries, right? So take that amount, right, and slow it down. Even if you slow it down, what does that do to demand and what does that do to pricing elsewhere in the market? And certainly at some point, what does that do to capacity, right? So, it's good that we don't grow a potassium, a highly potassium deficient crop for the most part. We can get by in most cases with limited potassium and still be okay. But yeah, you're gonna, in some cases, Ray, there's a lot more cases you can get away with it, with less of it than you can with it. How's that?
Well, if you're talking about the major commodity crops like soy and corn.
Oh, I'm talking about turfgrass, dog. Just turfgrass.
Oh, well, but here's the thing. I'm not worried about grass at this point. I'm worried about if I put in an order for food next week, if I don't get notification that says, "Oh, sorry, your order can't be fulfilled," and this fertilizer and natural gas and potash thing is going to impact that, and the impact is going to be on the crops that are kind of potassium dependent, and the potassium dependent crops are the fruits and the vegetables
Mm.
and potatoes.
You know-
Fruits, vegetables, and potatoes.
So I guess it's this, Matt, is okay. If you, here's what I can say for certain. I'll be the voice of reason and say this for certain. Is this is not, none of this is going to be over quickly. I mean, this is going to be years long. Not, and I don't mean the whole military thing. I don't mean the invasion. I'm just saying, like, to settle everything down in this space, right? Within these, like, it's going to take a long while. And to think that, everything's going to be hunky dory next year or things are going to smooth out. I've heard, man, when before, this is a month ago, as some of those urea prices were starting to ease, you started to hear the distributors get all, hot and bothered. Oh, look, it's okay. By the time we get to round 3 and 4, we're not going to be out of the woods, but it's going to be lower. And it's like, that's not the way this works, right? You can't just look at those snapshots in time and be like, oh, hey, this is a trend, right? And not only that, but clearly we've seen how much has changed in just, fucking a week, right? So I think that's the thing, is if there's one thing to hang your hat on right now, is that this is not going to be a short-term thing. And I'll give you the bonus one, is buckle the fuck up. Just what I mean. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a really tough way to go here.
There's no doubt about it. And again, I don't want to pretend like I know anything about this whatsoever. I'm not a geopolitical guy. I'm hardly read in world history, more or less Eastern European history. The way I grew up, it was, communism is bad. Look at all the deaths that occurred over here, and go America, fuck yeah, kind of thing. And so I'm trying my best to look at this from a realistic standpoint as much as possible. And, mind you, I am the anxious person that I am. I have incredibly high anxiety, and I think there's black helicopters circling my house 90% of the time, So I'm trying to be as fair and even-headed about this as possible. But exactly like Ryan said, even if Russia were to pull out tomorrow, 100%, send everybody home, are we just going to lift all the sanctions? And be like, oh, shit, that was a good run, boys. All right, we're done. You're done. Okay, we're done. Yeah, man. High five. Go team.
Sorry about that.
Hey, you know what? Hey, Russia, you want to join NATO now? We think you'd be a great asset to NATO. Come on in, And so regardless of whether this lasts for another day or this lasts another year, it is going to be affecting what we do day to day in some form or fashion for a long time. Now, if you do not have any tinfoil available, beer cans work just as well. Time to tape them to your head, because we are going to talk about China for a second. China okays all imports of Russian wheat amid Ukraine crisis. China lifted all its wheat import sanctions on Russia amid the Ukraine crisis, signifying a strengthening between Moscow-Beijing relations as the United States and its allies impose new sanctions on Russia. China's General Administration of Customs announced the decision Thursday, hours after Russia launched the attack on Ukraine. The move solidifies the agreement made during Putin's visit to Beijing earlier this month. One of the largest wheat producers Russia hasn't exported to China amid concerns about possible contamination and bacteria. Hello, Erwinia. Does anybody remember what China did to Sri Lanka, sending Erwinia tainted fertilizer over there? Well, turns out China, you project what you fear, you project against your own actions, kind of sort of thing. It's like the people who are always hyper paranoid about their spouse cheating on them is because they're out cheating on their spouse, kind of sort of thing. Well, we may have a little bit of that going on here because China's like, yeah, we sure as shit don't want to import anything from Russia because it may be contaminated with bacteria and disease. Well, you know what? In the midst of all this, probably because they were highlighted as to what was going on, they're like, fuck it. Yeah, we'll go ahead and take it. We'll figure out how to deal with it. And the fact that as long as it's good, and I think it's brilliant that China was like, we're going to leave a clause in this is that as long as it's not contaminated, we'll go ahead and bring it in, kind of sort of deal here. Under the agreement, exports to China would suspend if any fungus or contamination in the wheat or barley is found. China faced unprecedented hardships caused by flooding in the sowing period last year, according to China's agricultural ministry on Wednesday. The sowing of 18 million acres of wheat, accounting for 1/3 of the country's wheat plantation area, was postponed due to rare floods. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Affairs said China will make all efforts to secure grain during the summer harvest. And it goes on a little bit more there. But if anybody remembers, China last spring did face unfucking precedented floods. It was absolutely devastating, the amount of flooding they had. And of course, we're talking about a country too that doesn't exactly have the best pre-planning infrastructure to be able to deal with massive amounts of torrential rainfalls in general. And so that is why, you ran into one of the situations you ran into over there where there were cities that were 6 feet underwater. And I'm not saying that to say that necessarily, Miami certainly wouldn't be able to handle that kind of thing either. So, I just don't want to say that they're a bunch of buffoons or whatever, but case in point is that it was a rough situation. Now in the midst of this and the economic sanctions, they are still at all cost going ahead and securing absolutely as much as we can. All right, gentlemen, I want to put this out there. We got a minute left on this topic. Is this all smoke and mirrors for China to make the move on Taiwan, or is that yet to be seen, yet to be determined? And are those Blackhawks that are circling my house, or is that just a news chopper chasing a runaway guy?
I mean, you can't. I mean, listen. When you go to like a party or a wedding or something like that, and you see some guy, get drunk and just do some really stupid shit, Ray. I mean, just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Mm-hmm. Now, listen, you can sit and laugh at that guy, right? Or you can be silent and watch what your wife or your significant other is doing and seeing how hard she's judging that motherfucker. And I bet you right now that is what China's doing, is they're saying, what is the spouse doing here? What is the West doing here? I'm curious. And I bet you that's what's going on. So we're at the wedding. It's a big old drunk fest over there in Ukraine, and you can definitely bet that they're not laughing. They are judging hardcore right now.
They're judging, they're planning, and I'm going to say this, capitalizing. I mean, China is going to capitalize on this situation, and why else would they be essentially providing diplomatic assistance to the Russian Federation right now? Because it is huge to forego any kind of trade restriction or tariff on Russia and say, oh, you're cut off from the rest of the world. Russia can sell grain to China. That is unusual. That is very unusual. Indeed. Irregular.
Yeah, there's lots of wormholes we can go down there, but we'll we'll pump the brakes on it.
We'll save it more for as it develops, because I'm sure as we record this next Sunday, there will be a whole host of new information that will not require so much speculation on my insanity.
Or,
gentlemen,
we'll all be dead. We'll have the burn of burns as we lead into the burns.
That's right. If you do not have iodine in inventory, we recommend you go ahead and pick it up. It's the Cold War all over again, right? If you've never taken an iodine supplement, it's disgusting, by the way.
Where can under what tab is that on the Yardmastery website? Can you tell me? Okay, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. You find it, share the link with us. We'll highlight it. We'll make it a show sponsor. Speaking of show sponsors, this week we are brought to you by Lawn Supply Company. So, real quick, as this season is starting to kick off, Ryan and I have been working on some crazy cool shit again this year, and I'll go ahead and give a little bit of inside baseball for all the people out there that are big fans of Feature. We have taken one hell of a stab at Feature and doing some equal chelation strength, however, doing it totally different, trying to stay away from forever chemicals, right, where EDHA could be considered a quote unquote forever chemical. And so anyway, there's going to be more about that starting to leak out this week, and then ultimately some diversification of granular options, and they will all be greens grade for all you turf nerds that are out there. So stick around, pay attention to what's going on there. We do have some really cool products out there, for the high pH guys. I highly recommend checking out Fix4. Got some interesting feedback from guys down in Texas messing around with it. And so anyway, check it out if you're into soluble powders. We have, of course, the 1818, which Ryan's neighbor used pretty much exclusively this year, and it did an absolute bang-up job. You can see it from outer space, the satellite photo from Google Earth. It did a really good job right there in his environment. And if you are one of those people that could benefit from a 1-to-1-to-1, it would also do a phenomenal job for you. Check it out, Lawn Supply Company. Head on over to Ryan Knorr's website and take a look at the product offerings we have there, and understand we do have new ones coming to you. Then, gentlemen, let's get real pissed off just for shits and giggles here and check out this week's burns.
Do you think Sheila could? I bet you she could take down Vlad for sure.
There is no doubt about it.
Look at that.
Vlad does not stand a chance against Sheila, nor does any man, as a matter of fact. Guys,
rear end his greens mower. Man,
I was gonna go somewhere with like plowing a field or something, but I couldn't get there in time. I got stuck in a plow, and then I was like, I think I'm done. I think that's as far as I'm gonna make it.
Speaking of plow, did you see the Ukrainian farmer today that hooked up the I think it was a T80 tank to his tractor and just towed it right down the fucking road? He was like,
"Is that
take
not,
that?"
Listen, that balls of steel. First off, to just be like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to hook up to that tank and I'm going to get it the F out of my street. The guy's balls tinkle when he walks. The brass bounces against one another. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah,
he's not sneaking around. That's for sure.
I just hope that if it can, if it stays the way it's at where it's at right now, I think anybody's gonna fuck with Ukraine for another century or so. I got a good feeling about that. Hopefully they can make it through though.
Ding, 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 ding. Speaking of tinking, fuck Alt-In. I just wanted to get that out there. Seed companies sue Alt-In over cleanup. And for those of you that don't remember, Alt-In, we covered this, and I went on an absolute tear of a rant about this company because there are legitimate biochar companies out there, and they are far and few between because the majority of them are absolute scumbags like this company is here. So for those of you that don't know, Alton was taking expired treated seed. So, you think about like a lot of the corn that is planted in furrow has been treated with some sort of fungicide, right? And in particular, one of the ones that they were taking from in Nebraska, whoever they were getting it from, was mefenoxam treated seed. They would then ferment that into ethanol, and then they would take the waste material from the production of ethanol and pyrolyze that into a biochar, and then sell the biochar to be spread on farm fields out there in Nebraska. The problem was that it was still registering, and part of this is because pyrolysis may not necessarily degrade the mefenoxam chemical. So therefore, the biochar had such high concentrations of mefenoxam, the local Department of Agriculture told them, you have to register this as a fungicide. And instead of registering it as a fungicide, they all pointed fingers at one another and said, oh, okay, you do it. No, okay, you do it. No, that you do it. And then that you do that, and then that you do that. And you know what? They started selling the biochar anyway. In the midst of all the finger pointing and saying, you screwed up and you screwed up, they were like, you know what? The sales guy was out there pounding pavement. And he's like, we're going to get this into the hands of a farmer and let him go spread it on his field. And then it got caught that they were trying to sell it and spread it on a field. And then, of course, their feet were held to the fire. And it launched a big investigation where they came in and started looking through their facility and was like, holy shit, you've got 60,000 tons of this material just laying around in an open air space here. We've got a hazard problem, and we are going to put together a series of cleanup protocols that you're going to have to undergo in order to make this right. Well, you know what they did? They said, screw it, boys, abandon ship. Jump over the rail, grab you a flotational device, take it from the airplane if you got to, whatever you got to do. It is time to bail. Sound the violin. We are on our way out. So in the midst of this cleanup, they have gone somewhere. We don't know where. In 2 civil lawsuits filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Nebraska in Omaha this week, 6 seed companies have asked the court to award compensation for the cost incurred during an ongoing cleanup. They have asked the court to declare Alton's alleged asset sales to be void under state law and have asked for an injunction to prevent the company from selling any additional assets. All the companies suing have alleged breach of contract by Alton. The companies filing one lawsuit include Pioneer Hybrid International Inc., Corteva, AgReliant, Beck Superior Hybrids, and Winfield Solutions. Instead of complying with various emergency orders issued by the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy and engaging in remediation efforts, Alton and its officers and affiliates led by Tanner Shaw. And by the way, you want to go down a wormhole, go read about Tanner Shaw and what a motherfucker that guy is, have abandoned the site, sold off their assets to prevent their creditors, including the state and plaintiffs, from having access to assets necessary to perform remediation and reimburse plaintiffs for the costs that have occurred on the site. So basically, they said, we created a gigantic, absolute mess of an environmental disaster, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to abandon it. We're going to liquidate our assets, and we're going to disappear. Thank you. Another renewable energy project, another biochar company that has shit all over the industry and make people who attempt to give this space a valid name an invalid name. You, sir, may fuck off. That's all I got to say about that. Talk to me, boys. Where are we at?
When are we flying out to go have a beer with Tanner Shaw?
Oh,
when do we go?
I tell you what, he should be sent to the front lines somewhere in Ukraine right now. You know what he needs to do? He needs to be the guy that's holding up a flashlight, guiding in the cruise missiles from Russia, and being like, look, do you see my flashlight? This is where impact needs to occur. And I'm not saying he needs to be hit with a cruise missile. I'm saying he needs something risky to do, like guide a cruise missile. In my opinion, only my opinion, that is not a reflection of the Grass Factor or any of the participants on the Grass Factor show. Jesse, did I cover that legally correctly? Maybe we need Jesse to be a sponsor of this show as well too. I may have.
We need Jesse in our earpieces. Need him in an earpiece.
Yeah.
Matt, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's not even Friday, and Jesse would probably still take to pretend it's Friday. So, I feel the same way you do, Matt. Like, What was the, and I haven't looked it back up, Eco Right or Eco, what was the company that was putting the insecticide in their natural pest killer and all that? What was that company again?
Oh yeah, Ecomite.
Ecomite. Them, I mean, pieces of shit.
Well, and so here's the thing is like, I just keep going back to, there's a narrative to sell in all these cases, right? Like there is something that's mysterious and unique and all this stuff, and people get caught up in it, right? I mean, even look at the fucking firepower that's on this class action lawsuit, man. Like, I personally, I kind of feel bad for Tanner because these guys are not going to go away. Like, this is it. Like, they're gonna find him, and you know, if it's not the flashlight and the cruise missile, Liam Neeson, you know, might come out here with some taking shit, and I don't know. Listen, all I'm saying is, we criticize a lot of folks on here. We do, and listen, we're completely fallible, all that kind of stuff. I guess what I'm saying is that the people that we criticize are the people where it's like, hey, listen, my bullshit meter is kind of either, you know, rattling a little bit, or it has gone well past, you know, the midpoint, right? And in those cases, that's just experience talking, right? You know, this is Ray, Matt. How many times, you know, your old man says, I don't know if that's a good idea, right? He's not saying that to be a prick. He's not saying that to be an insensitive asshole. He's saying that because, hey, listen, I've seen some shit, right? I don't know for sure if it's a bad idea, but I'm telling you, it's probably not a good idea, right? And so in this case, that's all I'm saying is that the people that we criticize after the fact or even before the fact, where we get a little fishy and we're like, hey, man, something doesn't smell right here. It's because shit like this happens. I mean, this is two major fucking things inside of 6 months. I mean, these are major things, guys. This isn't just like, oopsie, I dropped a little bit of, you know, pyrethroid insecticide in my natural labeled pest control shit. I mean, I don't know.
It's 50% glyphosate. Oops.
And in this case here, like
carbaryl, 1% permethrin, whatever, you know, send it.
It actually, Ray, it tickles the insects to death. That's how it does it. That's the mode of action.
Jeez.
Yep. So I don't know, Ray. That's kind of where I'm at. It's just the big picture of we shit on these guys, and sometimes people give us shit for giving shit. And this is why, is that this stuff happens, and if it's not happening willfully, as it's happened in these two cases, it's happening ignorantly, and both of those things are wrong.
Yeah, it's just wrong, and ignorance does not get you off very much with the EPA. It doesn't. Because the EPA then looks at how much area you've contaminated and what it's going to cost to clean up that mess. And they don't care because at some point in time they think for something to go this wrong and this big, somebody has to know. Somebody has to know, and somebody has to know exactly what they're doing. You know, because for me, here's where my BS meter gets triggered. When I get the sense that somebody knows exactly what they're doing, okay? When somebody knows exactly what they're doing, when I get that sense that they know exactly what they're going to do, that's when I'm triggered.
By the way, hashtag coupon code Thriving20 if you want to.
Throbbing 20. Throbbing 20.
Throbbing 20.
Yeah.
Centimeters or inches? You get a ruling on that? You get a ruling on that?
In diameter.
Telly.
So another callback to the pre-show there. But again, you know, to claim, if these guys attempt to claim ignorance through this, it is just more bullshit drivel. And I'm particularly hard on the biochar industry because I've been around this long enough, and to see these claims like, oh, to the production of biochar, we as a byproduct, we produce potable water. And then you come within 6 feet of the water and your hair starts falling off your body, and they claim it's potable, kind of sort of thing. And I'm not kidding about the water being that contaminated. I have seen this time and time and time and time after again. And then they call it pyroligneous acid, and they put forth some sort of beautiful marketing spin on it that, oh, it'll fix your dog's. I'll tell you what, head over to Google and type in wood vinegar and look at all the uses for wood vinegar. And I'm telling you right now, do not, under any circumstance, use wood vinegar that has not been through extreme purification. Extreme purification, because it is an incredibly toxic substance as a byproduct of biochar production. So, and I'll leave it at that. That's why I'm so hard on this, because these people know what they're doing, and they're funded by fake money right now because people want to get in on green industry. They put together a beautiful pitch deck, and it sucks people into thinking they're going to save the world, and they secure all this fake money from people chasing energy independence or green means. And then what do? They absolutely milk it for everything it's worth, and then they abandon ship. They reform as a new LLC, and then they hit the pavement again, pitching a whole new concept because the first people they worked with didn't have it right, but this time they got it right. It's a crazy space. This next one here, and it was made it into the burns, and I did this specifically for Ray. I thought this was a good fit. I'm building an autonomous lawnmower, and cutting grass is harder than you think. A lawn is a curious thing, and the modern concept as we know it developed in such a broad and distributed way that covering its history here would be an article in and of itself. Regardless, it's a part of virtually every suburban yard, and maintaining a neat lawn is key to keeping yard areas both pretty and usable. Australia's beautiful conditions have left me tired of the grind, however, and I've had enough, and it's time to enlist robotic help. Of course, all this is coming, and lots of robots and all this fun stuff. But it turns out building the robot was a little bit difficult, and I'll skip down here a little bit. There are 2 ways to go about engineering something new. You can take a few guesses in your head, do a couple sketches, and simply build what you think will work. Then you find out what doesn't work and iterate from there. Alternatively, you can spend a great deal of time getting scientific about things, running models and calculations, and trying to figure it all out on paper before you begin. And then you run into him actually putting it together, and it turns out it's just not exactly what he thought it was going to be. And so anyway, he goes on here. Naturally, I wanted more as I attempted this, more performance, more cutting power, more everything. My thinking is that if I had more power, cutting the lawn would take less time to complete. I set about procuring a much brawnier 14-turn, 50-size motor for the cutting head. I'd already found some gains by adding power to the cutting head, so I figured more is always better. Also found even if I drove the robot at the slowest viable pace, Mower Boy was still moving too quickly for the cutting head and would end up being slowed and stopped by excessively thick grass. So it turns out it's not as easy as we thought. Not everybody's going to be out here building robot mowers. And the point here is that, yes, robot mowers are good and good looking towards the future. But however, we still have a little bit ways to go because as Ray has brought up previously, zoysia grass in particular, which you're going to find a fair amount there in Australia, is particularly difficult to cut. That's with any mower, more or less an electric motor or a robot mower. So there you go, boys. It's not all it's cut out to be.
Put it nicely. You put it nicely. I mean,
Right, Doc.
I guess that
God.
guy FAFO'd. I guess he FAFO'd.
Yeah.
He gave it a whirl though. He's no
I-
Sean Smith, that's for sure.
No, that is definitely for sure. There's 2 things I picked up here. Number one, if Ray ever had to get punished for a crime, I think we would just duct tape him to a lawn chair and make him watch this cut like a 3-inch high zoysia lawn, because that looks painful. And second, Matt, I figured out the main problem with this whole thing. I saw it as it skimmed past in the article there. Homeboy's only using 4G data. He's actually missing a G on this, and that's a critical failure point. Got to use 5.
You got to use 5.
So says Lizard Man.
So says Lizard Man. You just out there making history in Nashville. Thank you, Lizard Man, for at least in the midst of creating terror, you did not kill anybody aside from yourself, and for that, we're very grateful. I wish Putin would take a page from your playbook there and do the big bombs, but make sure you're sitting on top of it when it detonates. Out of Greensboro, North Carolina here, eventually I'll have to raise prices. Small businesses in the triad hit hard by rising gas prices. When gas prices rise, nearly everyone feels it. It trickles down from everything, how much you pay to drive to work and how much it costs for companies to get food and go to grocery stores. Unfortunately for Green Stripes Lawn Service, this also means he having to make adjustments. He's owned the company for 18 years, and he likes to keep in contact with his customers and have a family-based connection with them. Carter says he's condensed routes to limit how much gas he burns as he's seen gas prices fluctuate. I am stuttering all over the place, but it's getting to the point where he might have to make changes to his business. Prices may need to increase as I'm doing my jobs out there. I have to leave my property and show up somewhere. That's where my time starts for the customer. I want to keep customers. I don't want to price gouge people, but now I'm spending an extra $120 a week just to fill up my damn equipment with fuel. Eventually, I'll have to raise prices. If it goes up to $4 a gallon, I'm going to have to raise everyone customer-wise. I only keep it there as long as the gas prices stay high. I don't want to cheat my customers. It hurts. That's money off the food table. Less eating better food and having to go with cheaper food. I do what I can, and I make it work. It's unfortunate. Gas prices back in 2021 were $2.10. And right now, of course, the average gas price is at $3.42. I've seen it here in Knoxville. We are at $349.99 right now, which is the one of the highest I have ever seen it in Knoxville personally. So it's here. We're dealing with it, and in the midst of now what's going on in Ukraine, and that's it. And the fact that this old boy hasn't raised gas prices yet and is just eating cheaper food to compensate. And he's been in business for 18 years, and I saw the picture of him. He doesn't look like a young buck. I'm telling you, buddy, don't sacrifice your food. Just go ahead and raise prices. I promise you, everybody will understand. Do it for your health.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was the reason I stuck this in here was like, if you haven't listened to the show and what's going on to this point, you better be ready to go ahead and have that conversation. Hey, listen, prices are going up. I mean, it got to be at least 10%, right? If inflation was whatever it was, 4.7% last year, right? Take that right off the top, and then me adding 5% is not that much to ask, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's a minimum of where folks would be. And quite honestly, I'm not sure, if you get pushback on something like that and people are happy with you and you have longtime customers, then maybe they aren't your customers. Maybe they aren't the people that you should be serving. That's where I stand on it. But Ray, what do you think? You live this every day.
No, I certainly do, because let's just say that for the longest time, average price of gasoline where I'm at is over $4 a gallon. Okay? And all it takes is some kind of a international hiccup, and I can be looking at $5, guys. And the thing is that it's a given, and people kind of get it. People kind of get it here, because here in Hawaii, gasoline is expensive. It's even more expensive in Hawaii than it is in California or New York. So it's understood. It is definitely understood. And my advice to those good people in the Tennessee area that are going through this is, you know what? You do what you got to do, because as one of my longtime mentors told me, you don't run a nonprofit organization.
That's
You're
for
there
sure.
you're there to make money. So you guys do what you got to do.
We have talked about just the nastiest of the nastiest so far, and in the midst of everything that's going on, let's try and bring some life back into everything we've talked about today, and we'll do that with this week's returns. La 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 la.
I'm back.
How fitting is that to have that drunk army boot stomping intro there? I may have to change that. I don't know. It got weird for a second for me. I was having
is that triggering
crisis in my brain. Yeah. Old boy, Westchester employee earns free $53,000 pickup just by driving safe. This is from Green Lawn Fertilizing. Patience is to be a virtue, and for one employee of Green Lawn Fertilizing in Westchester, it became the key to winning a brand new $53,000 pickup truck. Who's going to pay the taxes on that? It's the only thing I wonder. To promote safe driving, company president and founder Matt Jessen offered his 125 drivers a year-long chance to win the vehicle by having a safe driving record. On Friday, the luckiest of the 9 finalists had their name drawn from a basket and got the keys for the 2022 Ford F-150 from Jessen. In addition to winning the truck, the company also paid the taxes on the vehicle. Look at this. What a badass company. The winner was Sam Cordero, a pest technician with the company who was recently promoted to service manager. He's also celebrating his 3rd anniversary for working at Green Lawn. Cordero said patience is the most important aspect of his driving practices. Take your time. You're going to get there, Cordero said as he took a moment to speak with the reporter after getting the truck. Being patient, the job is going to get done, and if it doesn't get done today, there's another day tomorrow. Cordero credited his ability to having patience to the company scheduling department, allowing enough time between jobs. Cordero didn't own his own car before this, is looking forward to taking his son, Aiden, 6, and Cyan, 5, on family vacations in the new truck. Company officials said Cordero has tracked up the top 10 safest drivers in the country by using their software company, Azuga. The 8 other finalists were Josh Bofloro, Nicholas Kitchen, Henry Black, Mike Burns, Christopher Bonilla, and Jonathan Melendez, and Gino Rosadevito, and Gilbert Lorenzo. They each received a plaque and a $200 gift card. Great story here. Great company here to do this for their people. And, sometimes it's just an opportunity like that. Look, he's never owned his own car before. And now he's got one, and he's got 2 kids out there. You'd love to see somebody like this walk away and be recognized in such a tremendous way. And he doesn't have to worry about the taxes, which is the first thing I thought of. So kudos to these guys.
Yeah, that is solid. I mean, that is just, and I gotta tell you, there's a lot of times where, do you know what grinds my gears? When I see a company vehicle or a vehicle with commercial plates being driven like it's on the Cannonball Run. I hate that. Okay? I hate it.
I get it. It's dangerous, especially when you're toting around a 200-gallon tank or a 300-gallon tank back there. There's,
it doesn't matter, Matt. It's not only that. There's all kinds of other things that can go wrong, and I'm talking about all the trades, because do I need to see somebody get run over by a service truck laden down with a couple tons of machines or a couple tons of steel on it? Do I need to see that? No, not really. I don't need to see that yet. So hats off to this company for encouraging safety on the road. Really, hats off.
Yeah, and I hope that this continues as part of their practice, and that other companies look at this and look at the press that company got for it. Right, made the local news. They had a little giveaway right there on the news, and if you have a good year, you have a banner year, and you got some extra cash, maybe take care of one of your employees this way, because that right there will give you all kinds of karmactic and other benefits towards having a successful business long term. A local agriculture company helps Ukraine family move to the U.S. Now, there's a beautiful video that goes along with this, but I just wanted to put it in here because, here we go. This Ukrainian family arrived in Oklahoma just before the Russian invasion. The Wheeler Brothers Grain Company, I can't tell if that's, oh, it is. Sorry. It started playing music on my end because I needed to hit another button. Anyway, the Wheeler Brothers Grain Company in Watonga has been sponsoring one of their employees to try and get their green card. After 3.5 years, Alex and his family finally made it to the United States. And for anybody that's ever gone through or not gone through everybody that's not gone through the green card process, it is an incredibly a difficult and touchy and lots of emotional highs and lots of emotional lows. Obviously, my wife is an immigrant, and we had to go through the green card process to get her, to allow her to be able to stay here and stuff. And so, kudos for this company for being able to stick up for one of their employees. And you talk about one of those things where you really have to count your blessings is that, he has just an absolute beautiful family here. We're able to get out in the nick of time. And I love to see it. I think it's fantastic. Boys, before we wind this up here, do y'all want to lay anything on me? DeMay's laughing.
Can we see that picture one more time, J Pink?
This guy right here. This guy right here. There are a couple things I want to do a little housekeeping here. If nobody saw the video that Polo did on when to fertilize your lawn and how to fertilize your lawn, especially if you have a Bermuda fescue lawn type of scenario, he did just an absolute jam up job on this. The production value, he did music tracks when he came on with us, and he absolutely knocked it out of the park here. It was kind of a part of a series, and I was really impressed with it. I thought he did just a jam up job. On Friday, we have a filler up Friday with Turf Therapy, Robert Palmer. And this is one of our American soldiers in Germany right now, living this shit, absolutely living this shit. And, I messaged him this week and just, let him know I was thinking about him because, as everything pops off, that is dude on the fucking ground. That is a soldier right there that's having to live this shit. So I am super stoked to have him on with us, and we'll see, hopefully not, grill him with too many questions on it, but I'm sure that in the event we do need to stock up on canned food, he'll be able to let us know that as well too. So stick around for Friday. Check out Polo's video. He did a fantastic job. Thank you to our sponsor, Lawn Supply Company. Again, check out what's going on over there, RyanNorLawnCare.com, because we got some exciting stuff coming out over the next couple of weeks. All right, everybody. We are headed to the after show where we are going to help pick the title of this week's show. See y'all on the next one.